Good evening and welcome again to the 19th episode of Highbury Matters. Today I'm with Kieran Stewart, who's got his own channel, KS1, and does the very good transfer exchange show. I think I can hear the teams coming out. I think we're ready. Here we go. Evening, Kieran. How are you?
How you doing, Melvyn? You're good? I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. We're going to cover the 2000, 2001 and 2001, 2002. I think I can remember all that seasons, but we're going to just talk generally about Highbury. Right, cool. First, the question I normally ask people straight away, because there's no warming up here, straight onto it. When did you start supporting Arsenal? When did you find out you're a lucky guy? And a question I've always asked myself, not recently, so why?
What year was it? I'd probably say I started to support Arsenal around about 93. But it was like I was a pup then. I was like probably about 10. And do you know what? It actually happened by accident. So, okay, there's a few confessions here coming in first. The first team I actually liked, was Aston Villa, and this was when I was about 8, and it was because that team had Daniel Atkinson, Dean Saunders, who else did it have in there? Richardson. It had who else did it have in there? McGrath. Like that team was awesome. So I was like. And also, my dad was a football buff, so he was like telling me about all these players. I was like, "This team's all right," and I think it was in the cup final as well. And I was like, "This is all right." So I was following them for a little while, and then I got offered to someone was going to buy me a kit. So then we went down to the sports shop, and I was looking for the kits. And I'm a little kid. I don't know what I'm doing. And there was this one kit, and it had a cup on the front, and that cup was the League Cup at the time, and it had like all embroidered writing. I was like, that kit, that's the kit I want. So I got that kit. So I'm wearing it around, and then there are people coming up to me like, "Oh, you support Arsenal?" I was like, "Who? Who? Oh, this is an Arsenal kit." So it started there, and then I got to know the players. Obviously, getting to know Ian Wright, Paul Merson were the two players that I kind of knew first. And then when I got to school, people saw that I had an Arsenal kit and they started to talk to me about it. And then another kid at school, his favourite player was Lee Dixon, weirdly. A kid whose favourite player was Lee Dixon at the time. It doesn't happen. It's always a striker or a flair player. But for instance, like Lee Dixon, we used to talk about Lee Dixon for ages. So it was there, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then, you kind of find out that Arsenal's a big family. There's Arsenal fans everywhere, and as soon as we know that you're an Arsenal fan, that's it. We're kind of friends forever.
Where were you brought up, Kieran? Though, what would be your natural top team from where you live locally?
So my top team locally would probably be Charlton, and
South London. It
was the first team I actually went to see. So there are roots of Arsenal here. Obviously, Woolwich Arsenal's only around the corner. I was brought up in Plumstead, so it's literally just around the corner. So although it is Charlton, there's still a massive fan base which is around Woolwich, just probably because of Woolwich Arsenal. So yes, we are North London, but we're born and bred in South East.
I suppose it's fair to say that when you were growing up, I had a lot of players from South London, very important players that were very instrumental in them winning the league. Yeah.
I mean, even like I said, my favourite player, and I still say my favourite player is Ian Wright, and it's because of his personality as well. And yes, there were better players, Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, but when I like the culmination of everything that Ian Wright had with the personality, the fact he was an outstanding footballer, he was a goal scorer, the story of him coming through late on. I just loved that. And the fact that he played for Greenwich Borough, again, is where I was born in Greenwich. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a connection there as well.
Well, also, you've got Paul Davis, you've got Kevin Campbell.
Yes.
There's a load I can roll off that came from that part of London, which they say all of a sudden was so important in Arsenal's history. So important.
There's a lot of good teams that have a good youth teams around here. Millwall is one of them, very highly regarded in the youth level. Charlton is highly regarded, and there's just something about South East London which it's a little bit gritty, it's a little bit rough, there's a lot of character building, and yeah, there's it breeds good footballers for good reason. For good reason. We play on the streets, it don't matter. We throw out a couple of jumpers in the middle of the road, and then when a car's coming, we'll move out the way. So yeah, South East London or South London is a breeding ground for footballers.
I know that you've mainly played in goal, haven't you? But when you were younger,
yeah,
I'm right, aren't I? Don't tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So I remember
I'm a goalkeeper. Yeah, I'm a goalkeeper.
Spoke about it, right? But when you were growing up, was it always a goalkeeper, or was you playing right back because of Dixon, or what?
No. So when I was younger, it started off at Cubs. So we had a Cub football team, and I used to play. I think I used to play up front. And then one day I forgot my boots, and I forgot my boots. So if you didn't have boots, it was like you weren't playing. But we needed players, so they was like, okay, you're gonna have to go in goal. And I had an absolutely outstanding game. And the goalkeeper that was a normal goalkeeper played up front, and he scored a brace. So there was like, just swap. And then that was it. I love it. I love the. There's a lot of pressure for goalkeepers, but there's also a lot of joy that you can get from being the hero, making top saves, saving penalties is my forte. So yeah, it's a lonely life, but it has its rewards.
Sure, it does. I've never played. Well, I have played in goal when one of the players got injured. I mean, I talk about not being able to touch the crossbar. I've done it. I've touched the posts. That's another story.
Yes.
Anyway,
easy.
You've got to be taught to be a goalie. Let's face it. And this is men's football I played in. Then geezer got injured. We didn't have any subs, and I was the only one who put his hand up. I thought there must be a few behind me. I went, oh my god!
No, don't ever put your hand up to go and goal.
Right now, but you may not remember the game itself. Do you remember the first time you went to Highbury? You might remember the game. Do you?
I do actually. The first time I went to Highbury, the first game I went to was actually against Leicester. I think Steve Claridge was playing, Heskey was playing, Jamie Lawrence I think was playing as well. Leicester didn't have a bad team. Muzzy as it was playing, I think, as well. What was the score in the end? I think it was 1-0. It was 1-0 Arsenal, 2-0 Arsenal.
Was O'Neill the manager then? Because he was very successful with that type of team.
Yes. O'Neill was the manager at that time. He was the manager at that time. He's a very good team.
They were a good team. They were decent.
Yeah, I mean, Neil Lennon as well was in that team. I think a lot of that he had a core from that team that came from his Wickham team, I think it was. And Martin O'Neill was just. I always rated Martin O'Neill as a manager. He's an honest man. I think his downfall, from what I hear from Aston Villa fans, was he would only buy British players. He was majority buying British players, and if the players aren't there, you're kind of forcing it. Yeah, Martin O'Neill, top manager.
Why would you, as a manager, Kieran, close the net? Close the window who you can and can't buy. You don't get any medals. If he won the league or won a cup, and they went, you know what, that is such a good performance. Not only is it so good what he's done it with only British players. you might get another 5% of people say it, but you've got 30% less chance of winning it in the first place.
Look,
just don't get that.
You'll know even more so than I will, because it'll probably be more clear in your memory that at the time, Arsenal were lambasted for playing too many foreign players, which was crazy, especially when you look at the talent that they used to bring in. It wasn't as if the players that we were bringing in weren't better than the British or English players that were going to be playing. So it was very xenophobic that day. That back then, you could say. It even shows it on the Invincibles DVD, the Arsene Wenger one, where how the press reacted to him being French, him bringing in his own French players, even making the British players better by changing their diet and changing their way of life. That at first was like, what are you doing? How can you do this? You won't even let them have ketchup or a beer. And it was like, what? When you look back, it's like, it's crazy. This guy's changing the way that they're turning footballers into athletes, and you're trying to have a dig at that.
Yeah. Also, remember the famous quote, and I may not be quoting it verbatim, but he said, when I had a go at him about buying all these foreign players, he went, when I buy a player, I don't look at his passport.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. And too right as well. Too right as well. If you are good enough, you'll play. And I think a great example of that was Ray Parlour. Ray Parlour, probably when Arsene Wenger came in, was probably a player who was on the cusps. Never really. He was there and thereabouts. He was a workhorse kind of player, and he was very much in and out. But then later on, a couple of years into Wenger being there, or a year into Wenger being there, I think he must have seen that Ray Parlour was something you could sort of rely on a bit more, and he's starting to get a bit more game time. But yeah, I think he's a prime example of probably weren't your first fault when Wenger first got there, but he played his way into the team and kept his shirt.
But when you look back, Kieran, when he played in that team, you're looking at all these fantastic, I thought, it's an easy thing to throw around. Some of them world-class players, and the rest were just below it, right? And Parlour was there, as you say, he just about got in if someone was at those days, a lot of them were suspended at certain times.
Yeah.
But when you look back, he was underrated.
Yeah, he was. But I think in the end, because if you look back in the end, his career was very much like that. It was like he was in and around the squad. He was there. And then, like you said, he came in to cover people, came in suspensions, came in injuries. And then he played his way into the team. He ended up getting in the England team on more of a regular basis. But it was towards the end of his career and towards the end of his time at Arsenal, he started to get into the England team. And then in the end, he ended up leaving to go to Middlesbrough. But yeah, a very underrated player. And I think he's more respected now when people look back at what the job that he did. Because he was more than a workhorse in the end. He was a very good passer of the ball. He scored goals as well. Tenacious. Yeah, he is a very good player, Ray Parlour.
With all due respect, they'd easily get into this team, current team.
And when you look at what he used to do, it's very much a bit like the way that Gilberto Silva used to get pelters. He only passes sideways and backwards. Yeah. He only does, and you're like, every team needs a player who passes sideways and backwards. And look, you want them to. They will pass forward. Like it was massively exaggerated the way they spoke about Ray Parlour and Gilberto Silva. But you need players who are just going to keep the ball ticking over, who are going to keep it simple, are going to find their man. They're not looking to run around 2 or 3 players. They're looking to get the ball, open up, find the man, pass it off, get into space, and receive the ball again and pass it off. You need these players in the team. And I think everyone now, especially these days, people are looking for highlight reel players, step overs. And it's not about that. It's just keep it simple. Sometimes you just got to keep it simple.
True. What was I going to ask you about Highbury. Hallowed Highbury. When you first went there, was it something special for you? Was it just another ground? I don't know if you went to away games, or when you first walked in, did you think, wow, this place is special? You tingled when you went in.
Yeah, I mean, I my first experience of a football match was at Charlton against Luton, and it was a
Was that the
0-0.
new ground here? And obviously,
Yeah,
new
it was at the Valley. It was at the Valley,
they
but
went to Crystal Palace at first.
yeah,
Didn't they share with?
yeah, they did for a while. But this was at the Valley. But when they had like the big poles in front, holding up the roof still, so if the ball, so you was obstructed with the view, and if the ball you thought was going to catch the ball, it pinged off the post, so it weren't good. So when I got to Highbury, it was special because I was a massive fan before I went to the first game. Like I was massive, so I painted all my walls and then drawn a stencil and then stenciled every single player around the edge and made my own sort of border. I had a wall with just covered with all Arsenal players. I was an Arsenal nut before I went to this game. So yeah, and I made my dad an Arsenal fan in the end because of my enthusiasm for Arsenal. Because just the excitement I used to have for watching a game, it was kind of infectious. And in the end, my dad supports Arsenal, and he ended up getting a season ticket and was going to. He's been to more games than I have now. So yeah,
I mean, I've had so many people. Most of the people, if not all the people I've had on here, had special feelings when they used to go through the turnstile, the noise of the turnstile, getting through, going up to where you were going to stand or sit, and seeing that pitch straight away, the greenness of it all, and the unique floodlights because they were on the top rather than in pylons, and the whole atmosphere. You could smell the smoke. Where I sat with my father. I used to work with my uncle and my father, and they had decent seats. And my uncle never smoked cigarettes, smoked the odd cigar here and there. So he used to always, have a cigar on. I could still smell that cigar going at the Arsenal, sitting near him. So I used to sit on their lap when I was very, very small. Jibbed in over turnstiles. Didn't have my own cigarettes.
It's not like that now.
No. It's
completely different.
Yeah, I've tried going on someone's shoulders under a very big overcoat this year, but it hasn't worked. They realised that
they weren't having it. They weren't having it
at all, Kieran. No, they weren't. So no, for me, I've spoken about it so much. Highbury. That's why I've done this program. It was so special.
Yeah,
big memories for me, and just I've still got the feeling as when you go in, it was like wonderful. Even if we weren't a good football team, and I went well before you when we were quite a poor team for a long period of time.
Oh, really?
It didn't matter. When I was at school, I couldn't wait for Saturday to come around if we were at home to go to Highbury. I could not wait.
But for me, it used to be like that. So yes, you want your team to win, but it was also for me, and it was probably just a naivety and not getting too wrapped up in everything. But back in the day, it used to be you saw the game, you won, lost, or draw, you move on. You don't get into the politics. And again, it's probably because I was young. I'm sure the elders were speaking a bit more about what happened in and out of the game. But it was like you was just looking forward to the next game. And then the next game. Oh, and it's a cup game today. Oh, you might see some of the youngsters. Oh, they're going to play some of it. It was always like that. It was excitement for seeing the game. And then, so when we built up to the point where we were winning in the league or we were going head-to-head and toe-to-toe, there was none of this if we lost the game. Oh, it's over. It's finished. It was all. We're going for the next game. Oh, mathematically, we can still win it. Boom. We got to win. Oh, Man United drop points. Sweet. We're moving up the table. And it was all about that. It was all about the here and now, not trying to predict what's going on in the future, not trying to second guess how other teams are going to play and trying to work out what the score's going to be. It was all just about what happens on this weekend is all that matters. And I think we've lost the element of that now.
I think we probably have because the league is probably over for us. It's 90%, I'd say, if not more. And I think certain people will not go to certain games this season. They might have gone to had we still been challenging or look like we're going to win it. And that's not what it's all about.
Yeah,
it's about watching your team every game when you can, not pick and choose because we may or may not win the league. And I think you'll find the attendances. You'll never find out because Arsenal don't give you the correct attendance, but I will find out, and probably you will find out by looking on Twitter and seeing all of a sudden there's a few tickets that come available.
Yeah, that's sad, but I do have to say that the atmosphere. Have you been much this season?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And how good's the atmosphere?
it's unbelievable. It's something that I never thought I'd see, because when I was at Highbury and we did well, the atmosphere was that. It never rocked the stadium because it was too much of a solid stadium.
Yeah.
It was built of rock rather than, corrugated iron type stuff.
Yeah.
It never rocked, but it was amazing, the atmosphere at Highbury on big days and big nights.
Yeah.
And when you got to the Emirates, it was never quite the same, because we knew we weren't pushing on the front. We weren't actually going to do anything because we had certain financial restrictions on us. We're selling our best players to our alleged rivals and all that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now, last season, and particularly in a couple of games, and every game this season, I think, it's rocked.
It's rocking. It's rocking. Honestly, you can hear it through the TV. You can hear it through the TV. I even went to a cup game this season against Brighton, and even then, this is a Carabao Cup game, so you've got a lot of different supporters there as well. So you probably got some of the youngest ones as well. And even then, I've been to Carabao Cup games before, and they're usually just quite flat. Even then, and we lost. But there's just this togetherness this season, which I do hope that they continue it. I do hope that we don't get lost in this sort of in this league title race, and forget that the start of the season that our target was to get top 4 in the Champions League, to forget that it was about progression and making sure that you learnt from your mistakes last season. And I do hope that at the end of the season we take a look at ourselves, take a step back, forget about all the noise that people are making about bottlers and failures and all that, because they should actually be looking at their own teams, and just really appreciate that this has been an excellent season. And because it's one thing I was telling people at the start of the season, people midway through the season, is you've got to enjoy it as it's going along, because it will go quick. And if you're going to sit there and scrutinise every game and pick holes in the way we didn't do this and the way we didn't do that, it will finish. The season will finish, and we could have either won it or come second, and you wouldn't even have remembered really the good times. You wouldn't even enjoyed the celebrating the wins. Against, it don't matter against who, the 4-3 comebacks, the wins against Man United, the wins against Liverpool. You're not embracing that. And I just feel like people get too drawn in and stuck in and not enjoy the moment.
Well, you're correct what you say, because I was saying to people this season on more than one occasion, because I do repeat myself, that's one of my problems, is enjoy the ride. Just enjoy it. Yeah. Enjoy the ride. Right, now we're going to talk about the seasons that we're supposed to be covering, and we will cover them. The first one is a wonderful season, the 2000-2001 season, where it wasn't the greatest of seasons. The next one after that obviously was, but we got to the cup final against Liverpool, and it was one of the most frustrating finals I've ever been to. Actually went to that one. That was the Wales in Wales, wasn't it? Yeah. That was we was robbed. Stefan Onshow, wasn't it? He only handballed it with one hand though, so you don't give a penalty. Yeah. Well, yeah, and Michael Owen breaking our hearts as well. Yes. Yeah, it was a brutal one. It was hard to take. It was very hard to take, especially when you get done by a dodgy goal. Yeah. Well, the guy should have been sent off. We won't talk about that. I mean, VAR would have given a penalty to them, I think, if that would have happened. So, anyway, right, that was that. Now then, we got beat by Valencia in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup. But Henry, it was firing all cylinders in, got 22 goals for that season, 17 in the league. The first game of the season, though, sorry, not the first game, on October the 31st, we played Derby. Right, there's a special reason for that. I'll just show you the teams first, Kieran. That's the, I don't know if you can see that. I can't, I'm blind.
Yeah, Mark Pone.
Who played for us as a reserve.
Yeah, Mark Pone came. Rory Delap, Craig Burley, Seth Johnson ended up going Leeds. Yeah. Dean Sturridge, that's Daniel Sturridge's cousin.
That's it.
Georgie Concladze, ex Man City. He was a player.
He was brilliant. He was terrific.
Yeah. Malcolm Christie, he was from non-league, ended up going to play in the Premiership. Danny Higginbottom. Derby have got a decent squad there.
Exactly,
obviously, Jim Smith was a very good manager. Was Paolo One-Chop in this team? Lee Grant, a young Lee Grant.
He sounds Chinese, didn't he? Young Lee Shuck. What's his name without Young?
That is such a dad joke, but I love it.
Young
Lee Grant.
You know how old I am, Kieran.
His name is Lee Grant, people. He plays for Young Lee Grant.
I'll be taken off in a minute. Don't worry, Kieran. All
right. Chris Riggott, he ended up being a half decent manager. Who else? And then obviously the Arsenal, David Seaman, Lee Dixon, Igor Stefanos. The story about Igor Stefanos from Ray Parlour, where he was
absolutely brilliant.
Where he was winding up Wenger, saying he's a player, and he ended up buying him. Wow.
Bergkamp said he was a player as well because he was
yeah.
Right,
Silvino, underrated. He was a very good player. Only taken out by Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole was the one
who sold him to Barcelona. We sold a few players, but I'll just go through this because that's the reason I'm showing the Derby program. Is a sad bit actually, because in that program that was the first home league game since Geordie Armstrong passed away. He passed away on the 31st of October, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first home since the tragic passing of Geordie. And we've got a few things here. Few things that in the program. It was dedicated to him, obviously, because another one from the top brass at Arsenal. I just go through these. It's just amazing. Look at that. That was the game before that. They had, I think, I might have been the League Cup game. I'm not sure where they had that on the screen.
Yeah.
What a shock and what a tragedy for the family. And everyone who knew him. Look at that photograph. Typical Geordie flying down the wing.
How good of a player was he for all those youngsters that don't know?
He was that good. And the strange thing is when he passed away, obviously people saying, "Oh, what a great player, what a great player." But I'm telling you now, people spoke about Geordie before he passed away. What a great player, because that's what he was. I was very, very young. He was in my first team that I watched. He just came into the team as I started watching the Arsenal. And basically, we could have played without a right back or a left back because he was everywhere, up and down the wing. He was tackling back. He was getting down, crosses in. He was making it. We had two good forwards. We had Kennedy, Radford, or other people as well. Brian Kidd. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. He put those crosses in, and they won on a play. He made it as easy as he could for those players to score goals. Fantastic. He can go inside the back, outside the back, show him the ball, do a little drop the shoulder. Mm. But his work rate was like it was not fair, like it was on Duracell batteries, you know what I mean? And they've never run out. And that's what he was like. And he gets the respect because I've had so many people on this show. Who's your favourite player from a certain era? And I go, Geordie Armstrong, without even me prompting them. And they genuinely, because I've seen him, and he's basically, I would do a petition, statue for Geordie Armstrong, full stop.
Open bracket. Who would you compare him to? What kind of a player was he like that people would see these days?
These days, he would be like Martinelli, the work rate,
mm-hmm.
the speed, not so much the skill, because in all fairness, the skills were different years ago.
Yeah.
They weren't there. But the tenacity, the bravery, they never give up. So if you could add those little bits and pieces to Martinelli, you would have got Geordie.
Yeah.
But Geordie didn't have the skill set what Martinelli does because it was a different game then.
Yeah, it was different.
Ball, not being funny.
If you tried them skills now, you wouldn't have any ankles or knees because you'd have been absolutely hacked to bits.
Yeah, they would have done you. Yeah, if you'd have tried that years ago, they would have on that grass. Well, it wasn't grass, was it? It was gravel. They used to play on sometimes. they painted it, I reckon, green. Right. This in the same program, Kieran. This is the same program. Highbury information tells you what I put this on for. If you can see on the left-hand side, a couple of games sold out, but none of the others have. See that?
Yeah.
Such a different type of scenario.
Yeah, it was. Chelsea not sold out, people. Do you know why Chelsea wouldn't have sold out? Because Chelsea were rubbish. They were rubbish.
Can I ask you a question? Do you remember, was Frank Lampard the manager then?
Well, honestly, I think this might have been the time when Chelsea just started to get a little bit better when they got in the Zolas, the
Oh yeah,
Hullets,
yeah,
the Frank
yeah. They did it. Yeah,
Leboeuf,
yeah.
and then a
They
few
were
years
better
later
then
they
than they
got in
are now.
Desailly and Deschamps. They started to throw a little bit of money in, so that Chelsea were getting better, but they were getting the players at the end of their career. But still, yeah, they were rubbish. They were rubbish.
I still get the right hump over the liver. Yeah, you're right. I do as well.
Yeah.
I remember
What
that
a
game.
game.
I was there.
Was that when Van Persie scored? Was that one? Or was that later on?
One at home. I can't remember if that was one at home. Van Persie scored a marvellous goal, a volley.
Yeah, against Charlton.
That was at Charlton.
Or was it at Charlton?
We're talking about going to a new stadium in this programme.
Oh, is it? Ashburton was
Yeah,
it?
look.
Yeah, Ashburton
Yeah,
Grove.
Ashburton.
Yeah. And it does actually look like that. To be fair, they stuck to it.
Yeah.
They done well.
Let's go to this one here. What we got here? Also in that programme.
Voice of Arsenal. New stadium.
That's what we used to have in the programme to read. People used to read programmes then.
I love a programme. I love a programme. But they just...
I used to read it cover to cover during the game, but not anymore. I ain't got the, you don't want to miss anything. Now, this is ticket information. Look what the prices were then, Kieran. Can you read them out for us, please?
What's that? Next to the centre, East and West Upper, £37.50. What's the cheapest one? Junior Gunners, £10. I remember that. Senior Citizens, £11. Adult lower tier wing block, £24. Adult lower tier, £26. Like, this is ridiculous. The most expensive ticket is £37. I bet that's the east to west upper. So you're talking halfway line, yeah. Centre blocks, halfway line, east or west upper, under 40 quid.
Yeah, amazing. Now, what else we got here? Oh, this is the next season we're talking about now. They're talking about Ashburton Grove, giving it a name now. Telling you how, if you want to apply and stuff like that, what's going to happen.
You could buy flats as well. I remember that.
Yeah. What's this? That's a game.
15 days
now, this is an advert in the programme, Kieran. I don't think a lot of work went into this. Tell me what you think.
Well, I mean, no, it didn't. No work went into this, but surprisingly, this was one of the best beers going around back in the day. Was it? This is a terrible beer. Carling is not a nice beer, people.
But they did adverts.
They did decent adverts.
Now, what I've got to do, I'm going to we spoke about the Derby game, because the Derby programme, because it's such an important programme and amazing. But I'm going to tell you go back to the season previous, the 2000-2001. Yeah. We bought in Pires, great signing, Laurent, and Wiltord, which was a record fee, I think about 13 or 14 million. We sold Overmars and Petit to Barcelona. Winterburn and Sucker both went to West Ham. I don't know about the same time.
Sorry, 25 million for Overmars. 25 million in 2000. Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Fortune.
That is a lot of money.
And Sucker left to West Ham. Vieira, I remember this. He got sent off in our opening 2 games. Was
that the one where he spat at Neil Ruddock?
No, that's later on. That's against West Ham away. I went to that.
Oh.
He spat because he got sent off, and Ruddock had a little joke with him, and he spat at him.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't that game. That was that he got sent off for Sunderland away. I remember. I can't remember the first game he got sent off. Anyway,
I think people won't realise that Robert Perez I think his first season he was not rated at all.
No.
And Vieira as well. When Petit left, the talk was, well, Vieira can't do it without Petit. He can't do it without Petit.
Yeah.
I remember.
Perez, the geezer who used to sit next to me, lovely guy. We just sold Overmars and bought Perez, and Perez started playing. He goes, "This Perez is no Overmars, is he?" I said to him,
"No, because he's not got the pace of Overmars, is he?"
I said to him. I said he's a different type of player because I've seen him play for France. I said, "You watch him; he's all right. He don't look all right to me." He said, "No, he'll be all right. He's not. Don't class him to Overmars. He's a totally different player.
Totally different."
Then Now then, the next game we played at home to Man United. We beat them 1-0, and Henry scored that amazing goal. And he turned, and hit it in the net above the goalkeeper.
Was that one? Was that one?
Went to the touch line
against Fabian Barthez.
That's it. Yeah, Barthez.
Yeah, that's one of the best goals you'll see in the Premier League history.
Phenomenal. But on the other side of the coin, and there are other sides, not all the coins. That's the season, and you did mention him stepping off when we went to United and got beat 6-1, and he played centre half. Sorry, I said he played centre half. Sorry, he was in that position. I kind of got that one wrong.
Was it Matthew Upson, Stefanovs? Was Luzhny playing in that game as well?
I think he was. We had them all, mate. We had them all. Don't worry about that.
It was not a strong team. It was a bad day at the office. Yeah, very bad.
So
very bad.
Organised because I'm sharing this place with someone. I'm on holiday at the moment. I'm doing this from abroad. Right. Now then, where are we? Also, a bad game I went to that season at Highbury. You remember the bad ones? Got beat. We're still in the league title. We still had the chance to win the league title. We got beat at home to Middlesbrough 3-0, and Edu and Silvino in the first half scored own goals.
Oof.
2 down. I know it wasn't a happy game, so that was horrible. And also, the last game of the season in the league, we played away at Southampton. We got beat 3-2. It was a nothing game because the league had been lost. Nothing game. And what happened was it was Letizier's last game of football.
Yes.
And he scored the winner in the last minute.
Yes, he did. He did.
But you don't mind that because I like Letizier. He was pure footballer. Yeah. You know, he scored against us. No problem with that at all. Because if there's anyone want to score a goal against us last game of their professional career, it's him. I don't mind. There's a lot of.
And I think it was a worldie as well. I think it was a typical Matt Letizier worldie. I don't think he scored tapping.
No, he never scored a tapping. No, it wasn't allowed. He'd miss it purposely. And as I say, the last game of that season was the FA Cup final for us, and we spoke about that. Right, but now we go on to warmer climes now. Warmer climes the next season. Double winners. Henry scored 30. What did he score? 32 goals, was it? Yeah, 32 goals, 24 in the league. That is some record.
Yeah.
We were unbelievable that season. In the transfer window, who did we get rid of? We got rid of a few players. Nelson Vives.
I think you forgot to mention the season before we got rid of Davor Suker, a player I think some people.
No, I was mentioning him when we got rid of.
Did you?
Not Winterburn and Suker, both to West Ham.
Oh yeah. I was well excited when he signed, but it didn't quite work out.
No, I think we it's a shame. I think he'd just come to the top of his career. We signed him and he suddenly gone the other way. Yeah, but he was had a fabulous left foot.
Yeah,
fantastic. He did. Right in the window, we sold Nelson Vives. No one was shocked about that. And Silvino. Oh, to Celta Vigo. I thought he went to Barcelona. Perhaps he went to Barcelona after Celta Vigo then. Lukic went. And we signed Richard Wright.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
He wasn't great for us, was he? He was in England.
So Richard Wright had a really good season at Ipswich. It was this season it's the season we signed Francis Jeffers as well. So Richard Wright had a really good season at Ipswich, and Arsenal were looking for a goalkeeper. But around that time, Sebastian Frey was a name that kept on going about.
That's it. Yeah.
Who else was a name that kept on going about? I think even what's his name? Buffon was going about from when he was at Parma. Yeah, from when he was at Parma. But and the same was for Francis Jeffers. I can't remember who it was we was looking at the time. It was the famous story about Ibrahimovic, where Arsene Wenger wanted to bring in Frey and Ibrahimovic, but then there was the whole talk about he keeps on bringing in foreign players. So I think he was nudged to go. Yeah, so I think he was nudged to go for more British players, Richard Wright being one of them and Francis Jeffers being the other.
Correct. Francis Jeffers we signed, and a third one we signed, which blew everyone's minds. What was that? English player.
Sol Campbell.
Yes.
Oh, I can't. I will never forget that day. I just finished the game. And we got the paper in the morning. And by the time that I'd finished it, no, so got the paper in the morning. By the time I'd finished the game, my Sunday league game, they was talking about effigies of Sol Campbell being hung up by Tottenham fans. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? Yeah, they lost their minds. But I knew there and then, even as a kid, that was a great signing. I knew there and then.
Phenomenal. Just like back injury. Oh, really? Do you believe that? Is that true?
Get out of it. I don't really know that. Even if he had a back injury, there is no way you could have someone try that 100 times and they would barely get it 10.
I agree. I didn't know it was the last game of the Dell as well.
Oh, yeah, no, it was. It was. No, it was.
Well, good call. Good call, Emerson. Good call, mate. Good call. Absolutely blinding call that was.
Who else?
That's amazing.
And if you look at so we also bought a very unknown player for 150k in that season called Kolo Toure.
Oh, that's it. Yes, yeah.
Janucci Inamoto, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I was a big fan of him.
He got injured with us, though, didn't he? He got a bad injury.
Yeah.
Oh, he was. Thanks, Emerson. Thanks for that. Just to make sure that's correct. So lots of going-ins and goings out and comings in, as they say. We played on one of the games of that season that got me. We played away to Liverpool. We had a few players out. I think Vieira might have been out because of his sendings off. December 23rd, 2001. 2001, I should say. And we were down to 10 men because who got sent off? Midfielder got sent off. Someone's outside. Van Bronckhorst, I think, got sent off.
Oh, was it?
And we beat Liverpool at Anfield with 10 men. 2-1.
2-1. Ljungberg and Henry scored. Yari
Ljungberg scored a marvellous goal. We did a Pires. Pires got the ball, beat, typical Pires, glided past and near post ball, in come Ljungberg, right at the right time, right pace, flicked it in.
I think it was this season where Pires started to come into his own a bit more. He obviously sussed out the pace of the Premier League, used to slow down his run, draw someone in, and he wasn't quick.
No, he wasn't.
But he knew how to use. Yes, he knew how to use He knew how to draw a player in and then have a little burst of pace, cut across him. These little things, the little tiny tricks that he used to do, which like young footballers should take note now. Draw a player in, use your little bit of pace in, cut across him so you've got to you're drawing the foul. He was very.
He can't tackle you.
You can't touch him.
You either foul him or can't touch him, and it's brilliant. Just as you say, go across the line of the person. Defender. Very clever. Now, a few other games that season that flashed to mind. I mean, if you'd have asked me about those games those season, I'd go, well, I kind of remember that, and I kind of remember that. But when I see it in black and white, bang, I remember everything about it. It suddenly comes back to you exactly what happened that day. And the first game, I think it was on television. We played away to Middlesbrough and beaten 4-0 with some delightful football. If we ever thought we were going to have a good season, that first game of the season was like, this could happen now.
Mm-hmm.
We knew we had a good team, but we weren't sure. And that was going, you know what? We could do this. Even on the first game of the season.
Sometimes those seasons start like we've had seasons where you just think this ain't it. When you lose the first two games, they might pull it back, but in the end of the season, it's not quite there. And you look back and think it's those two games that make the difference. It's those the start of the season which really makes a difference on how you continue your league. Just look at the way we started this season and where we are now. Because of the start we had, the momentum just grows, the confidence builds. So
it's a confidence game. Also, a bad game we had, home to Charlton on the 4th of Nov.
1-0.
No. We were 1-0 up and got beat 4-2. Can work that one out for that team.
Wow.
1-0 up and got beat 4-2 at home. I remember that. It was like every time they attacked, it was like, no.
But Charlton were a good little team back then. I think their problem is, Matty Jansen, Jason Yule, Richard Wright scored no goal.
Kieran. They were decent, but at Highbury, at those, we were like snobs. We expected to win, didn't we?
Yeah.
With that team, against a lot of teams, 99% of teams, we expect at least get a draw, if not win.
100%.
Be 1-0 up and get beat 4-2.
No, definitely.
One of the better games against Man United was the 25th of November, when we went 1-0 down. Scholes scored a goal, and we beat them 3-1. And what was, I don't know if you remember, Henry scored a couple against Barthez. He made 2 diabolical decisions, the goalkeeper.
Later on in the game.
One Barthez.
Yeah.
And he left it for an open goal for Henry, and another mistake he made. Kicked it out to Henry. We just didn't beat. I mean, they were big games against United over them, weren't they? To give away 1 goal was unforgivable. 2 was like chopping block.
Well, this was the time when Man United, they were trying to make that transition from Peter Schmeichel, and they end up going for about 3 or 4 goalkeepers. I think they had, and to be fair, if you think about it, they probably didn't settle for a goalkeeper until Edwin van der Sar properly.
Yes,
which was years later. They had Schmeichel was one of the best goalkeepers in the world when they had him. He left. They brought in Barthez. He looked like Barthez was a very good goalkeeper. He's too eccentric for Man United, too eccentric for England, to be fair. The original play it with your feet, and England weren't ready for that. Massimo Taibbi, I think he lasted 1 or 2 games when the ball went through his legs.
Southampton, that was. When it was at Southampton at home.
I think so. Mark Bosnich as well. Mark Bosnich, he was a good goalkeeper, but too much party life. So we were lucky in the fact that, yes, we had a great team, but Man United, they missed having a steady Eddie like Schmeichel on their team, and I think we exploited that. Yeah,
that's true. Yaya Toure was linked to Arsenal.
That's when I remember I used to get a magazine called Match Magazine. They used to do the interviews with the players, and I remember Kolo Toure turning around and saying, "I've spoken to Arsene Wenger, and I've asked him to take my brother on trial because he's better than me." And at the time, he was at, I think Kolo Toure is at a team like Brevin in Belgium, and And I'm not sure if he took him on trial, but he didn't take it up. I think he actually did take him on trial, to be fair, but he didn't sign him up.
Well, I think there was another player that came at the same time as his brother, and his name was like NU or something, a strange like 2-letter name, and he came on trial. Look, I thought we signed him instead of Yaya, but I hope I'm wrong. Oh
gosh,
we didn't do it because
we had many opportunities to sign Yaya Toure. To be fair, and we turned them all down.
You know, you could be right. I think Richard Wright did make a few rickets in that game, Charlton.
Yeah.
I remember, you know what his downfall was, in my opinion, with the Arsenal fans? We played away to Spurs. I can't remember what it might have been that season. And we were 1-0 up. Pires scored a blinder from outside the post, as he normally did against Spurs. And Richard Wright let in an absolute easy one from outside the box, a chip from the guy that, what's his name? The midfielder, played for Chelsea. Fantastic midfielder. South American. Can't think of his name.
Gus Poyet.
Yes, Gus Poyet's equalised. Yes.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have done. I don't think that did him any favours. Right, to sum up this year, this is another one that sank my heart. Home to Newcastle, midweek matches, I recall. We were doing well. We were 1-0 up, playing some unbelievable football. And I think Pires scored for us.
Yeah.
But what happened was, Paul had been booked. And then he was chasing Alan Shearer in the midfield. So it wasn't like the last man before he scores. He was midfielders because it was not far from my eyesight. It was like right in front of me. He got the ball, as I remember, because I'm biased, and took Alan Shearer afterwards. And the ref was going to, Graham Poll, the famous Graham Poll, that's what he wanted to be famous, wasn't it? Yeah. Went to his pocket to give another yellow, which meant he'd get sent off. And Alan Shearer, to his credit, which I've never seen him done before, was going like, no.
That happened to us a couple of times, actually, when players turned around and said, no, it's not a penalty, or he didn't touch me. It's actually happened a couple of times.
And the referee still had to do it because he needed his name in the frame, the referee. And we got beat because of that, I believe, 3-1. I think it was Shearer's first goal, if I'm not mistaken, in London. He had this thing about him, he couldn't score goals in London.
I think Newcastle in general had a thing about London.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
Where they
but to end on a lighter note with that, does it end up? I got more notes here. Oh, I've got so many here. Bloody hell! I've got to go get breakfast in a minute. But I tell you what, was a fantastic game. Not all the time, just at the close of it, the end of it, when we beat Villa 3-2. We were 2-0 down in the first half. Steve Stones and also Merson scored for Villa to make it 2-0. And we beat them 3-2, and Henry got a last-minute winner. I mean, the place erupted. It didn't shake because Highbury never shook, but it was an amazing atmosphere. Absolutely amazing.
Wiltord, it's a name that whenever his name pops up, if it's in a newspaper, they will say Arsenal flop. Melvyn, tell people how important Wiltord was. Like,
I think he scored in that game.
He did
score 2 that game.
He did score in that goal that he scored against Man United.
Yeah,
important goal he scored against Man United. People will label him a flop, but he came in. I think it was £10 million. He came in the season before Henry, I think it was, and it was a very good season, very good first season for him. He was blistering pace. He would take on anyone he didn't care. Good finisher, and then Thierry Henry became available. So he got kind of pushed out to the wing a bit more instead of playing up front. Oh, what? Yeah, I don't want to look.
No, I don't want to look. Don't tell us, Craig.
Yeah, don't tell us, Craig. Super Sylvan. Yes, see, Arsenal fans who are over 30 will understand and respect players like Sylvan Wiltord. Like, players like that are very important. Edu, another player. People forget about these players.
I liked Edu. I loved him as a player. I thought he was class. Absolutely class.
I used to love Edu. He was so, that left foot was so.
He was silky, mate.
He was silky. And it weren't quite the first season he was appreciated, but then later on, next 2 seasons where he played a lot more in and out on rotation. But when he played, he was brilliant. And then he started to score goals. No, Edu was a very, very good player.
I'll tell you something. Someone's put something here. Who's this? Oh, Craig again. Will hat-trick for West Ham at his first game. That's my son, by the way.
Oh, there we go. We go.
Was it West? I know he scored a hat-trick, Craig, but I know he scored a hat-trick against Man United in the League Cup. He scored a hat-trick before half-time in the League Cup. I've got a photo of that somewhere I might show later. So was it West Ham, Craig? You might be right. He might have scored 2 hat-tricks. But he was a decent player. He didn't have a very, what I would call, natural style. He was more workaholic style, wasn't he? He was like
he was.
You know what I'm trying to say? I can't explain it.
He did. He scored a hat-trick against West Ham as well.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What other go? Oh, yeah. Now, also, this season, which was the double season, which was the football was great as well. We played away at Cheltenham, beaten 3-0. Lundberg scored one of the goals. He scored a goal in the next 4 league games at Lundberg. How important was that? Right, this is in April you're talking about. 1st of April, he scored a goal, and he scored 5 league games on the trot, and they were sometimes 1-0 or 2-0 results, because we needed those to help us win the league, obviously. So that was so important. A horrible game for us was home to Newcastle in the FA Cup, where Pires got that injury, which put him out for the rest of the season, that knee injury. Yeah. Remember that? I remember him going down by the byline, and the tackle came in, and he went into the hoardings, I think, and it was ages before they carried him. Oh, it was horrible. You knew something was wrong there. We had the cup final that year. It's only Parlour, and he scored.
From long range, absolute weldy.
Yeah, it's only Parlour, and Lundberg got the second. And also, as you said, away to Man United to win the league, which was after the cup final, which is a bit weird. It never used to happen that way. We won the league at United by winning 1-0. We could have drawn 0-0 to win it. And Wiltord got the important goal. Exactly. So those were those 2 seasons. The second season was just phenomenal. I loved it. You know, the adrenaline was pumping because we felt we had something to lose because we thought we had a very good chance of winning it. So, you know, it was a great time to be an Arsenal supporter. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll have to put my glasses on for this, Kieran, because I've printed this in very small print, I'm sorry to say. The others are in bigger print, so you'll have to forgive me.
That's
there you are, Kieran. How you doing? Oh, mate, are you all right? Right, now then, 2001. What happened there? 2001, Hewlett-Packard, HP, and Compaq merged for a big company. Microsoft released Windows XP.
Oh, the famous Windows XP.
Yeah. Microsoft, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone came out. Lord of the Rings as well came out. And Shrek Monsters Ball came out. And Moulin Rouge.
What? No way. Was Lord of the Rings back then?
Yeah.
Wow.
2001 I'm doing. What else happened? The Leaning Tower of Pisa reopened to the public during December 2001. It was closed for, I think, 11 years for repairs. You know, they make the old tilt.
They're trying to straighten it up.
They straightened it up. Yeah, 11 years it took them. Now, these are popular musicians. This isn't when they first came out. They were popular.
Go on.
Janet Jackson.
Yes.
Robbie Williams.
Yes.
Jennifer
I love
Lopez.
in angels instead. Jennifer Lopez, yes.
You know,
Jennifer
that Angels
Block.
one? I think Robbie Williams would have been dropped by his record company had that not been a hit. So tried a couple before and he never quite done it. And
yes, before that it was Freedom.
Yeah.
It was George Michael remix and it didn't hit. But he came up with Angels and it blew. And then I think he got some ridiculous £100 million record deal to make like 6 albums or something like that.
But before, had that not been a hit, he could have been brushed aside and gone, "Yeah, I'll see you next week, mate." Now, these are the popular musicians as well. Alicia Keys.
Yes.
Got to say this one properly. Hold on. Dido.
Yeah. You don't want to get that wrong. You don't want to get that wrong.
I used to like this group, though. Texas.
Texas.
Remember them, the Scottish group?
Of course, Texas.
REM.
Is that Charlene Spiteri?
That's it. Yep. She was lead singer.
REM.
About the time. Missy Elliott.
Yes. Get your freak on.
And I tell you someone who I liked a lot. I thought she was so underrated, but she seemed to go missing for a lot. But I thought she was so talented and she was different. It was Gabrielle.
Oh, yeah, Gabrielle. She did go missing. Dreams. That song was quality. And she did a song with E17 as well. Yeah, she had a little comeback, but around about that time.
They're TV shows here. A couple of these are American, but I'm still going to stick them in. Shows that I say didn't actually come out that year, but they were big that year, 2001. Sopranos.
Oh, quality. I've started watching that again. Brilliant.
Oh, phenomenal. Family Guy.
Classic.
Sex and the City.
Oh, wow. I don't miss that.
Yeah, good TV then. Absolutely fabulous.
That was quality. Very clever.
Now, this one, I don't know if you've actually seen. I was speaking to Jerome tonight about that. This is my favourite all-time TV series, right?
Go on.
I cannot get it. I've seen the whole thing through. So like about seven series. I'm watching it. I watched it years ago. I'm just finished. I'm on the 7th series now, just finishing off. I love it. I can probably do it verbatim, word for word. I mean, you probably, I don't know if you even watched it, but someone years and years ago told me, you got to watch this one. I go, all right. Then someone else at work goes, you got to watch it. I went, oh, all right then. And then I was on Sky one day and it was, isn't that the one they told me to watch it? A couple of geezers at different times told me to watch.
Yeah.
I started watching it. It was like a drug with my arm. I keep watching it and binge on it because they used to show 3 or 4 a day on Sky, right? Because it was an old series, but then.
Yeah.
And here we go. Drum roll, please, Kieran.
Hold on.
We'll go, oh no. The West Wing.
I don't watch that, but my dad does because my dad's a solicitor. My dad's a barrister, so he loves that stuff. Suits, West Wing.
Suits,
yeah, he loves it. He loves that stuff.
And in the UK, I'll say it wasn't started then, but it was around then, and big then was obviously Only Fools and Horses and The Simpsons.
Fools and Horses. The Simpsons. The Simpsons was going since like 1984, isn't
it? Yeah, true. And
Tracy,
they can actually
is it Tracy Truman Show?
Yes.
Is it Tracy?
No, Tracy Ullman.
Tracy Ullman. That's it. Tracy Ullman Show. Yes.
But the thing is with The Simpsons, Kieran, they they could actually see into the future. If you watch some of their old episodes,
yeah.
they had Trump coming down the stairway.
I've seen that. I've seen that. Yeah, they do. They do seem to know. They do seem to know.
Right. Hey, what was Craig said? You wouldn't have taken me to that game now for sure. No, I wouldn't have done. Not a school night to the League Cup game, West Ham, the Man United game. You're right. What's this? What's Slavky saying? XP was the best.
XP. Windows 2000. XP. Anyone who works in computers knows about XP.
What's Donnie Darko? What's that? Excuse my ignorance.
Donnie Darko, Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, great film.
Ah, right.
Classic film.
Band of Brothers. I watched that. That's quality. Absolute quality, Lauke. Yeah, that is. Just go through a couple of things here. Just to show you. Hold on. This is what I thought I had. This is the Man United game where Will Todd's got the hat trick. First half.
How good was Canu? Canu used to play like he was no effort. And he'd just drop a shoulder and 3 men would just go. He was class.
You know what I called him? I called him entertainment on a stick.
He was so good. I remember because I knew when a player was good, my dad used to get excited about the player coming. And I remember when we signed Canu, and it weren't it was kind of like, was it in January or something? I can't remember.
It wasn't pre-season. No, that's right.
Yeah. And then my dad kept on saying, this guy, because he was like brilliant. Did you watch him in the Champions League final? I remember my dad, because I watched that Champions League final, and it was because he was talking about how good the players were then. He was like, this player, Canu, is brilliant. And every time he was on, my dad just love it. And I think this is when he started to really to start to support Arsenal, was around here, these players.
He was one of my it's just a great memory. The way he used to roll the ball. I don't know if that makes sense. To roll his body with the ball. And the players would go over there and the ball would be over there, and they didn't see him. Well, where did he go? He was definitely 6'4" or 6'5". He was definitely there a minute ago. So I remember seeing it. But where's he now?
Class.
Absolutely. Again, no speed. Didn't need it.
No speed. Yeah.
Didn't need it. And the last thing I want to show you tonight on another advert in the programme. MP Power.
Football shirt. Empower.
Not MP Power, sorry, Empower. How different the adverts are today. Different companies, different styles.
And they used to have theme tunes for TV shows. They were actual songs. They were actual jingles. It weren't it weren't just music. It was a full-blown song for a TV show. Lyrics and everything.
So different. It's only 22 years ago we're talking about. It's not like
you say only, that's more than half my life.
Yeah, it's all right. Not mine, I'm afraid.
So it is quite a while.
Oh dear. Anyway, Kieran, thank you for coming on.
No,
I know this was planned some time ago, but you never know what happens in the future where, different dates change and everything.
I was worried. I can't lie. I was worried. I was worried about remembering stuff, but when you start talking about it, it comes back.
Of course it does. Like people have said to me, I can't come on my memory. I said, don't worry. Once you get talking, it's a chat among mates. Of old games or old memories or stuff like that. That's all it is. Yeah. And it's like 2 men in a pub without the beer. Yeah. Really, that's all it is. It's that enjoyable for me anyway, and for a lot of my guests. I know it has been. I hope it's been for you. No, thank you very much for coming on.
No, thank you.
Hopefully speak to you soon. Keep well and keep everything crossed, eh?
Thanks, of course. Thank you very much, Mel. Take care, everyone. Bye.